Hello, AP US History class. This is Mr. McCavanagh, and I'm going to do a study guide YouTube session for the short answer section of the final exam. This is for Unit 1. Let me zoom in here to show you the questions for Unit 1, and I will go over the answers, and you can listen and get some review. Unit 1, number 1, identify at least two pre-Columbian groups of people and explain what made them unique. There were several groups that we went over. We went over groups like the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Incas, the Pueblo, and the Iroquois. The Aztecs were the most successful and the most powerful of all the pre-Columbian native groups. They were primarily located in modern-day Mexico. They were taken over by the Spanish explorer or conquistador Hernan Cortez. The leader of the Aztecs was Montezuma or Moctezuma. His daughter, La Malinche, was a translator for Cortez and his men, and is considered by some people of Aztec ancestry to be a traitor. The Aztecs' capital was at Tenochtitlan. The Mayans were south of where the Aztecs used to be. They were the most spread out geographically of pre-Columbian groups. They had a sophisticated writing system and calendar system. The Iroquois were located in the northeast section of North America, present-day New York, and they were known for the Longhouse construction building, where they held meetings and used for shelter. They also were known for establishing the Iroquois Confederation, or the Iroquois Confederacy, which was a group of 5 Native American tribes that organized a stable government. The Pueblo people were located in present-day area of Arizona and New Mexico and lived in the hot, dry heat of the American Southwest. They were known for the constructing homes within cliffs and mountainsides, called pueblos. Moving on to question number 2. How did England or Great Britain run its colonies prior to 1763? In 1763, the French and Indian War ended, which caused a large increase in debt for Great Britain. And so this led to an ending of the policy called salutary neglect. Salutary neglect was when Great Britain ignored the Navigation Acts that they had passed in 1751, so several years before, and Great Britain would not enforce it and allow its colonists to trade with people other than themselves and to pay minimal taxes and let them elect their own leaders. But then after 1763, they can't use salutary neglect anymore because they need to force the colonists to pay a substantial amount of taxes to pay for the debt from war, and also they need to send soldiers to make sure those taxes get paid, and they take away rights of representative government as well. Number 3, contrast the New England region of colonies from the Middle region of colonies. These were by far the 2 most different of the 3 regions of colonies. The New England region included places like Massachusetts Bay, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and in Massachusetts, the Puritans lived there, and their leader, John Winthrop, liked to run the government as if it were a theocracy, which is a government which is connected with religion. And they would even ban people like Roger Williams, who founded the colony of Rhode Island because he did not like the strict nature of Puritan government in New England and Massachusetts. Now in the middle region, there were places like New York, New Jersey, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. And in Pennsylvania, there were the people that were think of as the opposite of the Puritans, the Quakers, people who are open, who want a separation of church and state, so government leaders and ministers should not be the same. In Maryland, they had an Act of Toleration, which was um, open to all types of Christians, not just Protestants. It accepted Catholics as well. So the middle region was uh, different socially. They were far more tolerant and diverse than the New England. For number 4, how did the Enlightenment and the First Great Awakening contradict one another? The Enlightenment was a movement that started in France, so it floated over, transitioned over is a better word to use, from Europe to North America and had ideas of science and reason. Leaders like John Locke started to question the power of kings and queens to have absolute power. And so people started to care about natural rights, like John Locke said, and ideas of separation of powers and free speech. The First Great Awakening started in the British North American colonies and was an individual faith movement that would get more average people and minorities like women and blacks involved in government and religion. People started to take more of an active role in their faith through church services, and most church services, like in Massachusetts Bay, were the center of government, and so they took more of a role in government. For number 5, how did the First Great Awakening lead to popularity of Republican government? First Great Awakening got more people involved in church, and Republican government was where people elected leaders to represent them. So as more people will get involved in their church services, that leads to a higher involvement in government, because at the time, church and government tended to be mixed. For number 6, how was deism, which was the philosophy that believed in religion but wanted to prove its existence with science. How was that a mix of the First Great Awakening and the Enlightenment? Deists, which many of our founding fathers were deists while they lived in the colonies, felt that the First Great Awakening was good in involving more individuals in faith services, but they wanted to use the Enlightenment philosophy of science and reason to question government leaders and ministers to make sure that people were being served in the best way possible. And so the First Great Awakening got people more involved in religion and church, and Enlightenment got people more involved in government. And together, it gets more people caring about their community of religion and government. That covers the Unit 1 short answer section of the study guide. Check out the other units for those answers.